Modern day psychologists believe that most families, most individuals are extremely busy. Now, there's a lot of people that say, if I just had more time. Well, the belief is if you had more time, you'd fill it up with more things. Now, the beauty of today's gospel reading coming out of the 6th chapter of Matthew, verses 24 to 34, it's going to describe for us the culprit, the stressor that makes our lives extremely busy. So if you're there sitting this morning saying to yourself, my life is busy, I'm running from one activity to another, it's go, go, go from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep at night, well, this gospel reading's for you. Because Jesus is going to show us what causes our lives to be busy. And if you want to de-busy, so to speak, yourself, you might want to take a lesson from the gospel reading itself. Let's take a look at verse 24 of the gospel coming out of the 6th chapter of Matthew. It says there, Jesus said to his disciples, you cannot serve two masters. He will either hate one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Now, when I looked at the bulk of that, I said to myself, I understand exactly what Jesus is saying. You cannot serve two masters. That makes sense. You're going to love one, hate the other, despise the one, devoted to the other. I don't need a biblical commentary to understand that. But when I got to the last sentence, the last very part of that verse itself, I said to myself, now I'm stumped. Look at that part that says you cannot serve God and mammon. So that's the part where I stalled. I said to myself, what is mammon? I have no idea what that is. So I thought, okay, well, there's going to be a lot of people at the 11 o'clock Mass. Maybe someone in that church will know what mammon is. So who here can help me out? What in the world is mammon? Man? No, that's not it. M-A-M-M-O-N. Mammon. What is it? Pardon me? Okay, worldly things. You are really close. You're just about right there. The worldly things. And so here's what I did. I looked it up. I looked it up. You know, mammon is a Latin word, and it means this. It means to be controlled by your pursuits. To be controlled by worldly things. To be controlled by your pursuits. To be controlled by your activities. To say to yourself, I am not satisfied just to do one activity. I'm not satisfied just to take ballet. I have to take ballet, then I have to take taekwondo, then I have to take judo, then I have to take a musical lesson, then I got to do this, and then I got to do that. See, it's to be controlled by your pursuits, what you're going to discover in life. And when you listen to what other people do for a living, sometimes you say to yourself, I like to do that for a living, and I like to do that for a living, and I like to do that, and I like to do that. But what God teaches us is what? Everything that we do, if we want to do it well, it's going to take time to do it well. Now, let's take a look at that verse again. What we're going to do, we're going to change the word mammon with its definition. We'll start from the top. So this is an edited version. We're just going to change the word mammon to its definition. Jesus said to his disciples, no one can serve two masters. He will hate the one and love the other, be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God while being controlled by your pursuits, because your focus is never going to be on God, but rather your pursuits, your activities. It reminds me of Luciano Pavarotti, the great tenor. Died a couple years ago from cancer. You know, when he was a young man, Luciano had this great operatic voice, naturally. He was pretty much a natural at being a tenor. And he also loved to cook. He was a great chef. Now, when he was a young man, Luciano Pavarotti got this kind of a job, so to speak, singing at the local opera house near his home in Italy. He also was able to score a job working as a chef at a local restaurant, also near his home. He thought he had it all. But what he didn't realize is that his work singing and his work as being a chef was substandard. He didn't realize it. Here's what went wrong. When he was at the opera house singing, his mind, during the course of the song, would be on the next delicious meal he could make at the restaurant. And when he was at the restaurant preparing this delicious meal, he would be thinking about the next opera he was going to sing. So he wasn't focused. Now, what is absolutely amazing, on the same day, he lost his job at both of these positions. The opera house told him, Luciano, we can't have you anymore because you're not getting it done for us. You're not putting forth your entire effort. We can tell you're being held back by something. We don't know what it is, but you're being held back. And the restaurant told him, Luciano, we can't have you work here anymore because you're just not getting it done. You're being held back. Your mind, when you're here, is somewhere else. Now, Luciano was obviously disappointed and depressed and discouraged, and he went to see his father to get advice from his dad, as most of us do. And his dad, as he explained to his father what was going on, his dad gave him a very valuable and short lesson. And his dad looked at Luciano and he said, Luciano, in life you have to choose one chair. In life it is important to do one thing well than many things wrong. And that was his advice. You got to focus. Choose one chair. Say to yourself, I love to cook and I love to sing, but I got to do one full-time and one part-time when I'm off and just relaxing, and that's what I got to do. Now, what did Luciano Pavarotti do? He took the advice of his father, and from that point forward, he said to himself, never again will I be a chef in a restaurant. I can cook at home and for leisure and for fun, for myself, for family and friends. But I'm not going to make that my vocation. I'm just going to make it fun when I'm off. My vocation will be to sing in the opera, to be one of the great tenors as he was. And you say to yourself, that's the way life works. If you are busy, you're running from one activity to another. And here's what happens. It's sometimes maybe nice to be busy. But if you want to be a great guitarist, a great judo master, you want to be a sensei when it comes to judo, if you really want to be great at something, you cannot be great at everything. It just doesn't work that way. Because everything we do in life, to do it well, takes an incredible amount of time and focus. It's disappointing sometimes in life when you say to yourself, I want to do so much in this life. I was only given one life, but I wasn't able to do it all. So I had to focus on just one thing. I had to focus on my vocation and perform my vocation well, and maybe do some other things on the sideline as a little bit of fun. But those things can never dominate what I wanted to dominate in any field of profession personally. That is an incredible gospel reading. You cannot serve God and be controlled by your own pursuits, by your activities. And many people are. I hear so many families tell me from morning to night, many parents tell me they're nothing more than a taxi service, driving from one activity to another activity, to another activity, to another activity. They're staying up late, they're exhausted, no one's getting sleep, there's no time left for them. And why? Because in truth, you can never be great at everything, unfortunately. That's so disappointing, but you just can't be. I think Luciano Pavarotti's father gave him great advice. And I would have to say, if you look at the cross and you're exhausted and you find yourself tired, you say, Jesus, I am just so busy, and just help me to get rid of the baggage of busyness. What should I do? I believe Jesus would say to you, because I think it's great advice. Our Father would say the same thing that the father of Luciano Pavarotti said to him when he lost his two positions. I think Jesus would say to the person here this morning who is extremely busy and not getting anything really done. In life, you have to choose one chair. It is better to be great at one thing than to be wrong at many.